Mike's on Mike, a conversation about politics, government, and Jacksonville, with 50-year opinion leaders Mike Hightower, Mike Tolbert, and award-winning broadcaster and longtime political observer, Mike Miller.
Welcome to the 51st episode of Mike's on Mike. As we barrel towards our first-year anniversary, our special guest of the day is Darnell Smith, who's been Mayor Deegan's chief of staff since the beginning of the year. We wanted to know what was kind of going on behind the scenes in the mayor's office and discuss some of the bigger issues that she's going to be facing and has faced in her first year in office. Darnell is an executive on load from Florida Blue, where he serves as Blue's North Region Market President. No stranger to community service, of course. Darnell was co-chair of the Deegan Transition Team and has served on boards of numerous nonprofit organizations, including the Salzbacher Center, Cathedral Arts Project, First Coast YMCA, Jack's Chamber, Lift Jacks, United Way, and many, many others. And his wife says someday you should really come home and see what your family looks like. And by the way, one other side note to this. Hightower and Darnell worked together for more than 20 years at Florida Blue. But despite that, he's agreed to be with us on today's podcast, and we appreciate it very much. Welcome to Mike's on Mike, Darnell.
Only because we both have pictures.
That's right. That's
Good to have you with us.
First of all, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I got to tell you, that was a great time having an opportunity to work with Mike while he was at the Blues. So.
We'd like to be able to say that too, Mike's on Mike, but it's only been a year. We got 19 more years to go.
By the way, Darnell, for 7 years, has been a speaker at the Hightower Emerging Leader.
Yes, and all your alum work here in the mayor's office. So that's really terrific.
Yeah. I'm very pleased. But Darnell is always one of the most requested speakers, so we appreciate that. He really inspires our young folks, as he does every day.
Mr. Tolbert, kick it off for us, will you please?
Yeah, Darnell, I know that before the 2023 election, a number of community leaders came to you and urged you to run for mayor, and you resisted that. Tell me why.
You know, I believe when you go into any line of work, and especially serving in the capacity of being elected, I see it as a calling, and I enjoy the work that I do. In the corporation that many of you know is Florida Blue. I've been there for 34 years. In many regards, I think I have been able to do a lot of ministry work by helping people truly become healthy. And I think that's been my call. I don't think I've gotten the call. I've heard a lot of people ask me to certainly run, but I haven't gotten, and I usually pray about it, by the way. I want you to know that when I usually get these kind of requests, I pray about it. And I don't think I've gotten the answer that says this is the assignment that you have next. And for that reason, I've chosen not to do it.
Wow. That's classic Darnell Smith.
Tell us the difference, Darnell, in being an executive at Blue and being inside the government at a very high level. How did you transition? How did that come about? And how has the experience been for you these last 6 months?
Thank you for the question. First of all, I want you to know the experience has been very, very good. Quite frankly, when I think about the various people who, first I talked to 3 people, or it's 2 people and my Lord, before accepting the opportunity. The mayor came to me, asked if I would consider such an opportunity on many of her requests before for things I just simply answered by saying, thanks, but no thanks. I don't think that's what I'm asked to do, but I would still go home and I'd pray about it. This time, I asked her for the chance to once again go home and pray about it, talk to my family, talk to Pat Garrity at Florida Blue, and then I think the answer was yes in all 3, quite frankly. And I came back, told her I'd be willing to do it for a year. The company was certainly open to that opportunity for a year. And the first thing I did was to go to the people who've done this work. And my first 45 days, usually I try to do it over a 90-day period when I go into a brand new position. but I know I did not have 90 days to learn as much as I needed to learn. So I said, let's turn that into 45 days. And over those first 45 days, I listened to everybody who would talk to me. Certainly my direct reports, many folks in the council. I met with every council person who would meet with me. I sat down with many individuals who have done this work before, who have been chief of staff, and they've just been incredible, everybody, in helping me understand what was really important in order to really do this work well. I read a book that was presented to me by Adam Hollingsworth. Adam did a major, wonderful job in helping me to see the big picture of what it needs to be done when you step into a role like this. And after reading that book, understanding the 4 responsibilities that I certainly had or have in this particular role, many lessons that I'm telling you would have taken me no less than 6 months, if not the entire year, to really learn. I was able to get a good grip, or at least grasp, of what those items were in the first 45 days. And as a result, I had an opportunity to begin practicing them for now. Yesterday was the beginning of my second 6 months here. So I've ended the first 6 months, and as you know, we've had incredible results and through our teamwork, and it's been magnificent.
I want to talk about the biggest story. Let's talk about the big story, or they call it the elephant in the room. I call it the biggest story in decades. Let's go back, biggest story
since
30 years. If you go back 30 years. The recent $1.4 billion renovation.
Yes.
Okay. I know you don't like to talk about yourself. What was your role? How was the team? I know it was led by the mayor. How did that go? Were you surprised, number one, how quickly it came? The schedule was unbelievable. Nobody thought you could do it. So can you kind of tell us the role you played?
Yeah.
Without, matter of fact, chief of staff. 2, her role. 3, the role of President Mr. Salem. And then I have to just tell you, and I know you won't talk about it to the extent I'd like, but dealing with a Republican majority city council with that schedule.
Yeah.
I know those are a lot of questions I've thrown at you, but I think people really want to know what's behind the curtain, Mr. Wizard.
No, I got that. Lots of hard work. I think it was a true collaboration. As you know, once we identified the agreement, I thought it was excellent on the part of the mayor and then President Ron Salem. They were on the same page about getting the legislation passed prior to July 1. They understood the importance of making certain that we collaborate and get it done, and that's what exactly happened. So I thought that was amazing. Ron did an amazing job of working with his team over there, identifying exactly what meetings needed to occur, made it really clear that if you don't get your questions answered, we will not vote. I thought that was perfect on his part. Right. The mayor, on the other hand, made certain that we did everything that we need to do to ensure that we have a fair contract, one that really took the resources of our people and made certain that we were putting them to good use, that we were doing everything possible to ensure that we were keeping the Jaguars here for the next 30 years. The Jaguars, on the other hand, did a major job as well. It started with Mark Lamping, who was just absolutely fantastic. I'd worked with him before in the capacity of Florida Blue, never as much as right now for this contract. And it was really Mike and Mark, Mike Weinstein and Mark Lamping, who did the bulk of the work. Obviously, when Mike would come back after having his conversations with Mark and the negotiators on both sides, the consultants, he would share many ideas with me and the mayor. I'm typically in the room to make certain that all the things that need to get done outside of that room that she's committed to that they occur. It was those two really being master negotiators on behalf of both of their organizations. And Mike just, I think he's a wizard. He's very creative. He understands the financials like no one. Is very experienced, very expert at this body of work, and once again, just a master negotiator. And so he would, really bring to us the many ideas or the things that are being contemplated. I'd make certain he understood our position on those particular things. The mayor would make those decisions, and he would take them back and make certain that he fought for them as much as he could. But it was truly a collaboration. When they came to the table, they made it really clear. And I want to say Shad Khan, Mark Lamping, they wanted the message to be clear to everyone in Jacksonville. We are in Jacksonville to stay.
Right.
We want to be here. And even for this facility that the city owns, they are spending half, going in one half to make certain that it's renovated. Now, some people say it's 55-45. Technically, that's true. But I just remind folks that there were over $200 million of maintenance that we did not take care of.
Right.
And part of that negotiation was to make certain that before any renovation is done, that we took care of the maintenance component. So that was on us in the beginning, should have been on us, and we're just making certain that we're carrying it through. But it's truly 50-50. And just the fact that they would be willing to do that was phenomenal. But working with this council has been, quite frankly, amazing. We don't always agree, but we respect one another.
Yeah.
We can sit down, we can have the conversations, and even though we may not have an agreement, we don't have to be disagreeable. And I like that about this council. I like that about Ron. I like that about Randy and pretty much all of the council persons. They work hard. They do the work necessary to make certain that they're representing their various districts, and those 5 at large, they make certain they represent those particular districts as well. But I am here to tell you, we are willing to have the conversations with one another that will better and best serve the people of Duval County, and I think that's the part that really matters.
Pardon me. As you know, there are 2 components to this deal. One is the restoration or the refurbishing of the stadium, and then there's the community benefit program, which is about a $300 million program. At least it was when it started.
That's right.
And now I wanted to ask you, how did you feel when they split that out from the program, and when you guys going to bring that back up?
Yeah. Well, we felt like the job was not complete. That's what we felt.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we had a few of our council members who just really felt it best to have it broken out so that they can have an opportunity to look at it against the budget. We certainly didn't agree that that was necessary. And then, of course, we found ourselves in a scenario where several of the council members were somewhat conflicted to be able to vote on the legislation as it was, as one piece of document. They needed to instead break out the CBA in order to vote on the rest of the stadium. And so there was a vote in order to do that.
But they still didn't vote.
So they did. You're right. A couple of them still didn't vote. I'll let them. Maybe you can have them on.
Touche.
And they can explain that. But I would tell you.
Trust me, there are a lot of people who would like to know why.
I will not be opining. But I would tell you that, we were able to get the parks in. Because that part of the CBA really wasn't a conflict. And so it was really good to have the focus on the riverfront parks. The other 2, out east and countywide, out east focuses on the economic development, housing, and homelessness. Countywide focuses on workforce development, housing, and homelessness. And so when you look at the out east piece there, I think to a large degree, everyone can agree that this is a really, really good thing. It is an area that deserves the investment. All of our communities deserve it by that.
Absolutely.
And so our intent long-term is to invest in many of the disinvested areas of our city, areas of our city that have not gotten a lot of the investment in the past.
And a lot of promises.
And a lot of promises that were simply not kept. And so
going back to consolidation.
Right.
And through better Jackson.
That's right.
Exactly.
And so the intent is to learn from this process, make this significant investment, make the improvements that we think we can make. We think that we will be bolstered by all of the great development that is happening down in that area already with the stadium renovations and the things that are happening on the riverfront, et cetera. We think that'll help in that particular area as well. We're looking for something where many of the folks out east call with gentrification instead of gentrification, wanting people to come in, inviting people in, but not pushing people who are there out. And how do we work hard to do that, to make certain that a historically cultural area of our city is maintained for many, many years to come. So the intent is to learn from this and see how we can apply it to other parts of our city as we go forward.
One of your predecessors in the chief of staff position, Chris Hand, was on recently with This Week in Jacksonville on Channel 4, and he discussed the financing. I want to get into the weeds a little bit if I can. And he pointed out that there may have to be some very serious conversations about financial resources, because it's not just the money that's going to be needed and the bonding that's going to be needed for the stadium deal and the CBA, but we've got the trio that's coming down the pike. We've got a jail that's going to be moved at some point, which has already been estimated to cost more than $1 billion. I understand that we have the bonding capacity to be able to afford or get the money necessary to do these projects, but those bonds have to be paid back. Can you explain, because it's a little complicated with Better Jack's money and a few other, can you explain how that's going to be done and how we're going to be able to generate what revenues we need to pay off the bonds on all of these major projects that you're going to be facing?
Yeah, and I'll remind you, in addition to the things you highlighted, we did a number of other things as well. We looked at the pay for our fighters, police.
22% over 3 years, I believe it is.
Which was absolutely necessary.
Which is great.
Because long overdue, by the way.
Long overdue, but also, quite frankly, they simply were unable to be as competitive as they need to be to bring in and retain key resources needed to make certain that we are providing that public safety. And so that is job one for the mayor. I think everybody knows that. And I think she demonstrated that. So in addition to the things that you're highlighting, there were a number of other things that we felt that was really important. And the way we're going to go about doing it, obviously, is to, there have been, I would say there are a number of things we pay for in the city that we need to evaluate. Are they bringing value? And if not, how do we perhaps not pay for those things going forward?
Is it premature, Darnell, to ask for specifics in that?
It is premature.
Okay.
We'd rather, obviously, when we get ready to bring out the budget, we'll share exactly what some of those things might be. I think we got to think differently. One of the things that we're doing, we're trying out is a lean process improvement approach. We haven't seen that in the city. I know you remember that from Florida Blue.
This is a flashback. Once a year, when we would sit with Pat Gary or the other CEOs, this is classic. This is classic. Every year we go back. Is this a prize? You're the perfect person for this.
Well, let me share with you. We just moved to something called DocuSign. DocuSign has been available for many years. But at the end of the day, we're able to now move documents around for signature and retention without printing reams and reams of paper, passing them on to person that way.
Yes.
But we got to think differently as we continue to move forward. And I just think That is something I'd love to see us continue to do. Certain members and directors within our organization have just been marvelous when it comes to that. Our IT area has just really stepped up. Wanyoni has just been amazing. And so, and I think you guys might know Wanyoni Kendrick, but she's just been amazing in how she has brought a very transparent approach to the work that we do, very innovative and creative approach to things, and just learning how to do things differently. In many regards, catching up with how things are done in other parts of the world, and so, or at least the business community. And I think that's a big portion of what we're hoping to make certain happens. Another thing we're looking for is understanding, how to make certain that when we look at our fees, we're going to have a fee assessment to make certain that we have the appropriate revenues coming in for the things that we're actually doing and the services that we're performing. And obviously, a decision that would have to be made as to, whether we make any changes to that, but making certain that we're thinking along those lines. But needing to cut back is going to have to be a big part of what we do. And that is how we're thinking about this work.
Mr. Tolbert?
Yeah, Darnell, let's talk about the Laurel Street Trio for a minute here. Now that the DIA has ended its negotiations with the developer and it's in the hands of the city council, how does the administration really feel about the trio and what's happening? And is the mayor engaged at all in trying to get a deal done?
The mayor is very much engaged in trying to get a deal done. We've asked for the opportunity to have proposals that are constitutional and that we can absolutely afford as a city. And we've had, I want to say in the past, let's say 2 months, I think I've seen at least three different proposals. As you know, DIA board voted to not move forward with that project with the current developer. And we support that based upon the proposal that was in front of them. We are committed to having those three buildings that represent the Laurel Street Trio renovated. The question becomes, how do we get that done? We love very much to work with the developer by which to be able to have that. But we have to do it in a way that we're utilizing city resources appropriately. And the dollars that were being requested in order to carry out this project just simply wasn't good business or isn't good business. And so that is why we've stepped away from it. We understand that it's going to the DIA special committee now. We will be meeting. Obviously, I'll have a conversation with Mr. Carrico, the council and vice president, who will be running that particular special committee, and just share with him our perspective on it. But the long and short of it is, in no uncertain terms, we want those three buildings renovated, and that's our commitment.
But given those conversations, how do you see working with this finance committee that's made up of six Republicans and one Democrat? How do you see that?
Well, just remind you that, it's 14-5 as a council.
What do you need, 10?
Got it. And at the end of the day, I think they're fair. I think at the end of the day, they're smart, they're fair. They give us a chance to have our day in court and give us a chance to make certain that we're making the appropriate appeal with the right data and information. And I think because they are fair, we believe that as long as we bring sound items in front of them, we should have every opportunity to be able to get those things passed. The key at the end of the day is to focus on the people in this city. What is best for this city? And I do believe for the most part, that's what each one of them.
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that. I finish up. Mike Tolbert has always said on our show, you can never over-communicate with the public, particularly with the voter. And he has said that is absolutely the key to success. So, and y'all are doing that.
We're going to hour that.
Got to wrap it up, but before we do, when we were talking about financing the stadium and the CBA, came to mind that Darnell has got a book that is last year called Jeremy's Journey.
I have seen that book.
And I was thinking that once you sell the movie rights to this to Netflix, you should be able to garner enough funding necessary to pay for all of the projects of the city of Jacksonville. So Netflix, if you're watching, give us a call. We'll take care of you for this.
And he's asked that, yeah. And who's going to play Darnell?
We can talk about that.
We'll talk about that. Thank you.
Our thanks, Darnell, for being with us. Our thanks, of course, to Alan Bliss and the folks of the Jacksonville Historical Society inside the Jacksonville History Center, our sponsor for Mike's on Bike, and we appreciate the support that we've been getting from them and from the donors that have contributed to the show. That's it for this week. Thanks so much. Next time is our 52nd edition. That'll be our 1-year anniversary. I'd love to tell you what we're going to be doing, but I have no idea. You'll have to just tune in and find out.
Or give us an idea.
Or send us an idea if you'd like. You can do that as well. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you again.
Mike's on Mike with Mike Tolbert, Mike Hightower, and Mike Miller can be found on your favorite podcasting platform, Facebook, and YouTube. Visit the website at mikesonmike.com. Join us next time for more conversation with Mike's on Mike.